So as I said, I'm Lucy Hogg, Director of Voluntary Sector Infrastructure at Voluntary Norfolk. And really what I wanted to do today was just to give you a sort of update and overview of the new commissioning arrangements that have been put in place by Norfolk County Council to support the voluntary community and social enterprise sector. So I'm just going to begin by giving just a little bit of background around what the arrangements have been in the past and the commissioning intentions that were put in place by the County Council. I'll tell you a little bit about the partnership approach and the partners that we've brought together to deliver on this. I'll give you an overview of the offer. I also want to say a little bit about the sort of new governance arrangements and how we want to sort of manage governance in a slightly more robust way moving forward. And a little bit about what our plans for the future are. As I said, there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end, so I'm hoping that this presentation won't last any more than about 15 to 20 minutes. But I do have a bit of a habit of running over time, so Amelia, do give me a prompt if I'm going on for too long. Okay, so the new partnership is called Empowering Community. So just a little bit of background. So prior to Empowering Communities, there was a partnership of organisations consisting of Voluntary Norfolk, Community Action Norfolk and Momentum, now with Voluntary Norfolk, and we supported the sector through a grant arrangement known as Working Together, which was commissioned by the County Council. Those grant arrangements were intended to end after a 3-year period, but because of COVID they were extended to the end of September last year. So in summer last year, the County Council performed a review of the grant arrangements, and that involved a consultation with the sector, some sort of in-depth interviews, some focus groups to really understand what the sector needed moving forward, and particularly within the context of COVID and all the changes that's brought about. And as a result, they developed a new grant framework. So we have seen an increase in the funding that's been made available. So it's the first 2 years of a 3-year contract, up to £250 annually. We've also had the funding that we received for the volunteer portal, which supports organisations to recruit volunteers and individuals to volunteer. We've seen that sort of rolled into this grant programme, which might not be very exciting in itself, but actually makes it a lot easier to deliver a more integrated and joined up programme of support. There's been a pot of funding made available of £150,000 to support the small grants programme. And in the commissioning, which took place last summer, there was a very sort of strong focus on the grant framework that was delivered. So again, these slides will be made available afterwards, and the presentation's being recorded as a resource, but this gives you just an overview of the sort of priorities that were identified as the sector in terms of the infrastructure support that they required. So I don't think there's any big surprises in here. I think definitely as a result of COVID, and I think at times of an unprecedented time working much more closely with statutory partners, including the County Council, we've seen more engagement, I think, from the County Council around making sure that this is a really, really effective sort of framework. There's a greater focus on funding and finance than we've seen before, and a sort of a greater focus really on looking at issues of social investment that perhaps hadn't really been recognised as important to the sector in the past. There's also been more of a focus on looking at how we can diversify our volunteer pool in Norfolk and develop trustees as a resource for voluntary sector organisations. So we've brought together a new partnership, as I've said, of Voluntary Norfolk, Community Action Norfolk, who are here today as well, and Norfolk Community Foundation, who I also believe are here. And we've called that partnership Empowering Communities. Hopefully it says what it does on the tin. That's very much what we're here to try to achieve. That partnership is very much the core partnership, which will manage the outcomes of the grant. And our ambition is very much to deliver a much more progressive and impactful programme of support, to work collaboratively and to really play to our strengths as organisations. So where we feel that we're not best able to deliver support, we'll bring in other partners who can. So to this end, we're already working with 2 strategic partners. They're the Norfolk Community Advice Network, NCAN, and Norwich Social Enterprise Place, now known as Fuse Norwich. So they both bring different perspectives to the plan and the shaping of the programme, and they will both possibly deliver elements of the programme also as we move on. So what did we want to what did we want the sector to have from its support offer? So some basic principles really. So we're working to ensure an effective and good user journey for VCSE organisations so that you can understand what is available and get the support that you need easily. I think, you know, a lot of that is about how we work more effectively as partners and ensure sort of much easier kind of flow of information and signposting throughout the support that's available. We want an offer that reflects the needs and caters for the diversity of the sector and is able to evolve as these change. We want to develop more understanding within the sector of the provision that's available and trust in that provision. And we want to ensure a positive and collaborative working relationship within the partnership, but also with County Council and other statutory agencies, and of course, the voluntary sector. So just an overview of the offer. So we've designed the offer to ensure a really good sort of quality universal offer support is available right across Norfolk for the voluntary, community and social enterprise sector. But what we also wanted to do was to be able to offer some more targeted specialist support to support the development of the sector over time. So I'll tell you a bit more about that. So we've tried to balance both of those aspects in the programme that we've developed. We've also had to do it within the funding available. So we've had to balance the need for offering practical support now. We're building in capacity so that we can work strategically, respond to emerging needs over the course of the funding term. So we're also committed as a partnership to leverage the resources that are available through the grant to bring in additional resources also over the grant term. So I'm just going to sort of work through those 5 priorities just to tell you a little bit more about what we are seeking to achieve. So in terms of income and funding, our outcomes are to provide, you know, really good quality information on the best sources of income and funding that are available and making that accessible to the sector so that we can ensure that organisations are supported to access the resources that they need to meet their objectives and operate sustainably. We've set out some signs of success. I'm not going to sort of read through all of these, but I'll just make some highlights for you. We feel it's really important, as does the County Council, that the support that provided is impartial. We feel that bringing together a partnership in order to do this is a good start in place. But you know, we will need to look at how we manage that moving forward, and I'll say a little bit more about that in due course. We want to ensure that organisations are supported to write sustainable income and funding strategies. So we understand the challenges that the sector is facing, particularly at the moment, and we think some of that sort of strategic support around income diversification is going to be absolutely critical. Obviously, we still want to keep you updated on funding opportunities. We want to work more proactively with the local enterprise partnership and the County Council to look at how we can bring inward investment into the sector. We want to be able to support the sector to collaborate around partnerships, around funding. And we want to be able to ensure that we support the sector to use alternative forms of social investment, such as sort of loan finance. And also we want to ensure, and this is something that the County Council is really keen to sort of see supported, is support for sort of better use of technology and digital access. Okay, in terms of advice and support, we'll offer a high quality advice and support service to enable the sector to operate safely and effectively. and also proactive support, which helps organisations develop to meet their communities and stay safe, viable and effective. So signs of success are making sure that we've got a really good baseline of easy to access support and advice around some of those key areas such as HR, legal, insurance, safeguarding, etc. Making sure that the county council remains appraised of what the emerging issues are within the sector so that we can use this information to develop services and propose changes more strategically, and ensure that the sector feels that it has a clear advocate in terms of its needs and issues with statutory partners. In terms of volunteer recruitment, our outcomes are to ensure that there is infrastructure in place for organisations across the county to recruit a more diverse and strong volunteer base. I think particularly building on the growth of volunteering and some of the changes in volunteering that we've seen as a result of the pandemic. We want to support Norfolk residents to consider volunteering, whether that's in an effort to give back to their community or to progress their skills in life and work. And some of the signs of success across that are to sort of further develop and embed the volunteer passport scheme in Norfolk, making sure that it's there to support sort of volunteers to safely and quickly be deployed across a range of roles. Look at how the passport could perhaps develop Norfolk residents more in terms of moving into employment. Making sure that it's efficient and simple for any organisation to advertise and recruit for volunteers, and really build the resilience and diversity of the volunteer base in Norfolk. We also want to ensure, and we'll be putting particular efforts into how we are able to access skilled and a more diverse trustee pool to support the sector moving forward. In terms of training, I think training's always a challenge. I think sometimes training is something that gets neglected by the sector because of the costs involved. We see our role very much as being able to enable organisations to access tailored information and to signpost to the best sources of training. So, for example, we'll attend training, we'll develop a sort of a kind of inventory, if you like, of really good quality training that we can vouch for and refer you into. We want organisations that can grow the knowledge and skills that they need to support organisational development, and a VCSE workforce that can develop their knowledge and skills to raise aspiration and meet the needs of their beneficiaries. So some of our signs of success are organisations being provided with the right information and signposting, offering a rolling package of training courses for the sector, covering some of those sort of baseline core training needs, a training offer that is fit for trustees and is able to develop a sort of a pathway for people to move into trustee roles, and organisations in Norfolk being able to sort of access these training and seminar events in a much more accessible way through some sort of calendar, probably on our website. So the last one, in terms of our sort of 5 priorities, is around networking and engagement. So we really feel it's really, really important. And as you know, we launched the Voluntary Norfolk Network last year, and moving to a networked approach is very much core to how we work at Voluntary Norfolk and how we want to work within this partnership. We feel that organisations that are well connected and know where to go to build collaborations, where to access information, and including peer-to-peer support, will be a more resilient and more robust sector. We want to ensure that there are regular opportunities, not just for the peer-to-peer support, but also for strategic engagement and dialogue to ensure sector intelligence issues and concerns are effectively discussed and communicated, both within the sector and with statutory partners. So our signs of success are around ensuring that there are regular opportunities for strategic engagement within the sector and with our statutory partners. Ensuring that there are regular networking opportunities for organisations across sectors to come together and share best practice and collaborate. to ensure sector-wide communications, to provide regular updates to organisations on funding opportunities, engagement events and key changes in legal issues, to ensure that the VCSE Assembly implementation is seen as a route to engage on key changes and developments, and organisations feel their voice is heard. So this is quite a big area of development within the within Norfolk, which has quite a sort of effect on the voluntary sector in terms of how we work with our integrated and care system. I'm very happy to discuss that, answer any more questions about that later on. And also to ensure that the VCSE forum that supports children and young people continues to operate and work effectively. Okay. So that's an overview of the sort of programme offer. I realise there's quite a lot in there and it's very outcomes focused. I'll say a little bit more about how we're going to get there in a little bit in terms of the sort of the plans and what we're working on right now. But before I do that, I just wanted to say a little bit about governance and independence. So as a partnership, our commitment as organisations is very much to the Empowering Communities programme and really ensuring that it provides maximum benefit for the VCSE sector in Norfolk. So we are all really committed to developing the strength and effectiveness of the sector in order to meet the needs of communities in Norfolk. But we do acknowledge that, you know, this has been said to us before, and I'm sure it will be said again, that there are concerns around conflict of interest within partner organisations. And I guess what I really wanted to do today was just to sort of acknowledge that and give some space to have that discussion if that would be helpful. We recognise that there are real possible conflicts that come from, for example, being a provider of infrastructure support and a provider of direct services. And we want to ensure that these concerns are addressed so that we can focus on delivering an offer that the sector values and uses. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing to address that in just a sec. But also we really want to ensure that the foundation of this lies in building confidence in the partnership and understanding of what the Empowering Communities programme offers, and recognise that good communication and transparency will be key to that. So some of the things that we are putting in place to support this partnership and programme going forward is firstly a steering group. So this will have sector representation from external stakeholders who can provide a sort of independent voice and advocate for the sector. And commissioning leads for the grant. And that's something that we haven't really had in place within the commissioning arrangements before. And we feel that that's a way of ensuring that the offer really does deliver for the sector and ensuring that sort of independence around the decision making that takes place there. So we will, though, however, acknowledge the conflict of interest and explain how we are managing and mitigating it. We will put in place a complaints and concerns process, which will be held by an external member of the steering group. And we'll be as transparent as we possibly can about the programme arrangements and report regularly on deliverables and outcomes. So we will also, over the course of the programme, seek evidence and input from the VCSE and wider stakeholders to shape the offer so that we can be really confident that it is reflecting emerging needs. And we will seek to demonstrate the benefits of these partner organisations delivering the sector support programme and what we bring in doing so. A quick word about VCSE Voice. This has felt really, really important in the development of the Empowering Communities offer. I think particularly in the context of the changes within health and social care and the move to an integrated care system and the development of the VCSE Assembly, we've recognised that, and I think also from some of the work that we've done through the Children and Young People's Forum, we've recognised that we really needed to clarify our role within infrastructure in terms of how we support the sector and what representation of the sector really means. So we've arrived at a position where we really see the partnership as being a mechanism to support the sector to amplify its own voice. So our aim being to ensure that the offer provides VCSE groups the opportunity to speak for themselves as much as possible, and our role really being one to enable that dialogue and that discussion to take place, and really seeking to try to bring a greater diversity of voices, particularly into strategic forums. So we see our role as to enable both large and small VCSE organisations to engage and contribute in a way that is meaningful for them. And we recognise that the VCSE is diverse and will not always speak with one voice, but we really passionately believe that by encouraging diversity of views and perspectives, we can collectively reach better outcomes. So we view our role as enabling VCSE voice, and providing a safe space where organisations can share views and challenges with peers, and where meaningful constructive dialogue can take place between sectors. So this could involve because, you know, I think in mobilising a new programme, we have to be mindful of the fact that we're not starting from scratch. There was already some infrastructure support in place. And so some of this is about how we evolve and change that to be fit for the future. So some of the things that we are looking at is about being able to convene the sector to come together around specific topics, themes, gaps on an ad hoc basis. So these could be early stage inward investment conversations where we could bring in the LEP, Norfolk County Council or other large funders, but also early stage engagement with the County Council where they are considering service changes and really want to have a sort of a candid and trusted conversation with the sector about the impact that those changes could make. So we are working with CAN to extend the strategic partnership meetings that they already, NCAN, the strategic partnership meetings that they already deliver, and this has already started to happen. And these are a great sort of space for extending awareness, dialogue, and understanding around sort of policy issues and what's really going on in communities. And we're also looking at evolving the sector leadership group, very possibly, although not fully confirmed yet, to a leaders network. But the intention very much will be to move away from a sort of a closed group of representatives to much more of a fluid and open network, open to all VCSE organisations, or the sort of the leads within those organisations, to provide a safe space for trusted conversations, but also that really important relationship building and peer support. So I think this is my last slide almost. So next steps, we're in the mobilisation phase and we've been hard at it since October. Grant pot, the 150,000 that was made available by the County Council has been released. So I think the first round of that grant opened in October. That was managed by our partners at Norfolk Community Foundation, and I believe they were absolutely inundated with requests, and that first round has now been, those grants have been made, and there will be a second round. We are currently looking at how putting in place a partnership website, our sort of comms platforms, the Working Together newsletters have had a little bit of a facelift, but there's sort of bigger changes planned there, and obviously putting in place our sort of partnership working arrangements. We are looking to transition to a new volunteer platform from the existing one, and that will be happening in the sort of very near future. And we anticipate, or we are planning for a sort of a full program launch in the spring, but there will be changes coming online over the next couple of months leading up to that launch. So the final slide really is just a sort of a plug. I believe Lauren from the Community Foundation is here, but just around the Norfolk Pro Help offer. So in working with Norfolk Community Foundation, we have been able to develop some of the sort of work that we do working with Pro Help, but also with a lot of their sort of corporate network. Lauren, are you here? Did you want to say a few words, or shall I?
I am here. Hello.
Hi, did you want
I
to
don't
just
mind.
say a few words? This is our last slide.
Yeah, I don't mind talking a little bit. Yep, I'm Lauren from Norfolk Community Foundation. I'm the funding plus advisor. So I basically run the Norfolk Pro Help programme. And what we can do is we work with corporate partners to provide practical support. So if you needed HR, admin, sort of something like HR or financial support that you couldn't pay for, we work with our partners to try and get you help. So do get in touch if there's anything we can do. We also look at putting on training as well. So if there's any needs of the sector that you think you might need, so if you look on the Pro Help website or the Norfolk Community Foundation and just drop me an email, we can look for things for you. And just we're always looking for what the sector needs are. So please get in touch.
Thank you, Lauren.